and our interviews are brought to you, as always, by Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. And we wanted to get an update on things going on with the Indiana County Chamber of Commerce. Who better to talk to than Mark Hilliard, the president of the Chamber? How you doing, Mark?
Good, Josh. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. So, as I understand it, that there is going to be a tournament, a golf event coming up. I know that this has been kind of a long time coming. It's been put off by COVID-19, but it will be held.
Yeah, and this is something that we talked about doing in 2019 when I first my first full year at the chamber, and it was something we had on the schedule that we wanted to try to do. So we had initially scheduled it for May, and obviously that wasn't going to happen because of some of the events surrounding COVID and the restrictions. So we decided to push it off, and hold it here in September. It's turning out to be a good decision. We have a lot of teams that have already signed up. Our deadline is the end of this week for it, but we're expecting a really nice turnout, and it's something that Chamber does a lot of events that are kind of networking. This is more of it's a networking opportunity, but it's kind of a fun one, and it's able to be done outdoors so that we're able to follow all CDC guidelines and do so in a manner that we're able to be safe and healthy, and still allow people to be able to get out and network with one another. And we found that it seems like there's really a need for that right now. That with all these months of kind of not being able to do some certain things, that people are still requiring some of that face-to-face interaction, even if it is 6 feet apart. I think that there is still somewhat of a need for that, and this is hopefully going to accomplish that and do so in a safe manner.
Now, you mentioned one thing that has come up. As you mentioned, the Chamber has been very effective in getting some networking going on between businesses. How tough has that been, setting up those networking type events in this time of COVID-19?
Well, it's been virtual. That's been the biggest thing, is we've been trying to move to more virtual events. And we want to stress, one of the things that the Chamber is always known for events, but there's a lot more that we do, and in particular, I think the last 6 months have kind of highlighted a lot more of those efforts than simply the events that we put on. But make no mistake, we've kind of missed a lot of those events, and it is, you're still able to network virtually. I've always been a big believer that some of the best interactions are face to face, whether it's versus over the phone or email or even through a Zoom or any kind of webinar. It's not the same, but at the same time, we still have to recognize what the challenges are right now, and any interaction is better than no interaction. So we've done a lot of things online. We're still trying to look at different things. Like we held the eggs and issues last week, and we did a hybrid approach where we held, we were able to broadcast it online for those who were not able to make it out, and we still did it in person. So as we're slowly transitioning back towards, being able to do more things in person, we still want to be able to have that opportunity. And I think that, that may be something that doesn't change as some of the restrictions eventually are eased a bit. I think that there is still a market for people to be able to do it online, not even from a safety standpoint, but I think time management. There's a lot of people that are busy and just not able to leave the office, and we still want to be able to provide those opportunities, and that may be something we're able to continue even beyond some of these the pandemic issues.
Mm-hmm. Eggs and Issues was a good example of how kind of the Chambers had to adjust on because of the coronavirus pandemic, holding the event at the country club, but outside in their, their courtyard area. It sounded like I got to watch that event, and that was good. I got to watch the virtual coverage of it. So talk about how that went as far as attendance and everything else went.
Actually, it was really well attended. We weren't sure what to expect, but we met with the state legislators, and they were pretty adamant about trying to hold it in person. They felt like they needed some of that, again, to be able to see some of their constituents face to face, to be able to have them ask the questions or submit the questions in person. That personal interaction means a lot to those guys. So we wanted to try to accommodate them. And, when we met with the country club, the one thing I wanted to stress to people was, we took so many precautions. Well, people who came in, they had to get the temperature taken, they had to wear the mask, use hand sanitizer, and then once they were seated, they were able to take their mask off as they would in any dining setting or a restaurant. So we were very cautious with how we approached it, but the turnout was really good. We had a lot of great questions. I thought, all the legislators who were part of it did a great job of answering those questions, and it was very informative. And we had terrific feedback. Those who watched online or those who attended in person, we had good feedback from it. So it's a great event. It was done a little differently than we've done it in the past, but we're pretty happy about that, and we're kind of looking ahead now to a candidates' night, kind of another political type of event that we're looking at in October. That one may not be in person at all. We are looking to work with the IEP Com Media with some of our state races for state representative and state senator, but to hold sort of a candidates forum online, but being produced in a TV studio with the help of IEP Com Media. So It's something we're looking to do a little bit differently. It'll be mostly online because I don't know if the restrictions will ease up enough to have more than 25 people there. But that was something we did last year. We're going to look to continue to do it this year.
You're listening to Indiana in the Morning, and this is Josh Woodison with Mark Hilliard of the Indiana County Chamber of Commerce, and we are talking about how the Chamber's been kind of handling some of the things that have been going on during the coronavirus crisis. A great example of we just talked about was eggs and issues, and another good example is the upcoming golf outing. So, Mark, outside of the golf outing, what are some of the other things the Chamber is going to be focusing on over the next few months?
Well, we're debating on what to do at the annual luncheon, and likely we're not. I just came from our monthly board of directors meeting, so we're likely not going to be able to hold that in person this year. We can't anticipate what might happen, and even the ruling that was made by the federal judge earlier this week. That we can't take a chance on trying to hold an in-person event, regardless of what's going on right now. So I think we're going to be looking at doing something online for that. We're still able to hold our annual meeting for our members, that maybe bring in a speaker through a webinar and do things a little bit differently. Other than that, we're working with our partners and a lot of the folks in the COVID task force that the county commissioners have put together, just making sure that we continue to deliver information about COVID-19 in kind of a unified voice, that we get out in front of a lot of the information. I would caution people, I see oftentimes a lot of rumors and panic, online, and, we want to make sure the right information is delivered and that people understand what this information means, as opposed to just taking one or two numbers and jumping to conclusions. I think, unfortunately, in the world that we live in, social media is a big part of that information distribution, and what that does is that just leads to, I don't want to say false information, but people take it and they can take a certain piece of information in a number of different ways. From what I came from the board of directors meeting, things are not nearly as bad as they seem in Indiana County in terms of the numbers, and especially in terms of the hospitalizations and the ventilators and things like that. We're actually much lower than we were at the peak of this pandemic. So we're starting to see a light at the end of the tunnel. We certainly don't want to see numbers continue to increase in any capacity, but even from businesses, we're starting to see a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel, and hoping that things continue to move, even if it's slowly, in that positive direction, so that we can start getting this economy back on track locally, and get our businesses ready in time for the holidays to really start getting their cash registers ringing a little bit more.
All right. Well, Mark, thank you very much for joining us here on Indiana in the Morning. All the best to you, and we hope to talk to you again in the near future.
Sounds good, Josh. Thank you.
Thank you again, Mark Hilliard. Thank you again.